government has come out with a notification banning 59 Chinese mobile apps. Amongst them are the biggest of the names that you have, right from TikTok to Cam Scanner and several others. The list will be put out right here for you. I would suggest that you all actually go through this list specifically, personally. You will find that a lot of these names are actually apps that you probably already use. But before I give you the list of the names, I actually want to read out to you what the concern here is and why is it that the government has done this. The biggest concern that the government says is that there is a threat to security and your privacy. So let me read out from the circular. The Ministry of Information Technology, invoking its power under Section 69A of the Information Technology Act, read with relevant provisions of the Information Technology Rules 2009, has taken this decision to block 59 apps in view of information available that they are engaged in activities which are prejudicial to sovereignty and integrity of India, defense of India, security of the state, and public order. In fact, it goes on to say that there has been a big amount of a concern in the last several years. At the same time, there have been raising concerns and aspects related to data security and safeguarding the privacy of 130 crore Indians. It has been noted recently that such concerns also pose a threat to sovereignty and the security of our country. So it actually goes beyond just your privacy and your data security concerns to a bigger concern as far as the state is concerned and India's national interest is concerned. I also want to now take this across to the two experts who are joining us right now to help us decode this and really understand what is happening. Nikhil Pahwa, editor of Media Nama, and Ritesh Bhatia, cyber security expert, joining us this evening. Ritesh, let me come to you first. You know, so many familiar names. What does a layman, what does the common man make of this decision? Should we be concerned if our data has been breached in any way?
Oh, well, I think, these people have always been notorious as far as data has been concerned. The Chinese apps and all. In fact, recently somebody had reverse engineered it also. The TikTok thing, they had reverse engineered it. And, we came to know, when you go to the settings, you think, okay, TikTok only takes these many permissions. But actually they had taken, they know each and everything. So, we all were laughing at it and we said, okay, look, we've been talking about antivirus and many more things. But here is a case where we have a spyware on our phone. And so even for the layman, even if he goes now and says, okay, it's blocked, but, maximum of the Indians, they would be having all these Chinese mobiles when it comes to the Xiaomi, when it comes to, Oppo, Vivo and all other kind of things. Every third person would be having a Chinese mobile. What happens that even if you block these apps, your data is still going over there. But whatever said and done, fine, if the government wants to stick on it, let this not be like a kind of a lip service or just a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day thing. They had done this earlier also with TikTok, Tanvi. They had blocked it for a day and then again So be sure about what you want to do and let's then stick to it, because let me assure you, the Indian experts over here, the Indian technology companies are fairly good in coming up with an alternative in less than a week also for any app they can think about. Tanvi, back to you.
Yes, but in fact, Ritesh, I just want to read out some of these names, and the list is out there. And we've also put it on all our social media handles for everybody to read it, because they need to know which are these apps. From TikTok to Share It, to UC Browser, Baidu Map, Shane, which is I think a retail, a shopping portal, Clash of Kings, DU Battery Saver, CM Browsers, Virus Cleaner, Club Factory, NewsDog, WeChat, UC News. There are obviously a lot of them which are actually already inbuilt in some of the phones. From the list that I can see, Nikhil, some of these apps now come by default in phones like Vivo or Xiaomi, that people already have. Will banning these apps or uninstalling it really now help, or is it too late?
Tanvi, I'm not sure about whether what a ban means in this case because does a ban mean that users will no longer be able to download these apps from the Google Play Store, or does it mean that these apps will no longer be functional in India because they will be blocked at an ISP level? So it's one thing to ban, it's another thing to be able to implement the ban, and we need to see how that's actually going to work. But one thing that stands out for me that this is the first time we have seen the government actually make public a Section 69 order. Now, Section 69 was discussed in the Shreya Singhal, 66A case back in 2013, 14, 15, and the Supreme Court upheld it, and it allowed the government to do secret blocking, which means that the Indian government did not have to disclose the fact that these apps are being blocked or these apps are being banned. The fact that they've issued a press release on this means that they want the world to know that they are banning these apps. They want China to know that they're banning these apps. And so this is more of a political decision than a technical decision because these same apps were functioning in the exact same way 1 year ago, 2 years ago. So why now? Now because they needed to make a political decision on this. I don't see this as a move to protect users' privacy or anything else. This is more about telling China that we're banning some of your more popular apps in India.
Okay, what is very interesting is that these apps really cover a wide variety of things that people do. And probably, many people wouldn't have even thought about it that who has made this app, which is the country that, is behind this app. And if I shop from this portal or if I use this scanner or if I use this battery saver app, am I really giving all of my information out? So while I understand, Nikhil, what you're saying about the fact that this is not something new, it's just that at one go, the government has come out and made this announcement, obviously in the larger backdrop of what's happening with China. Is there a larger security concern that the users should have about apps like this? And if so, how do we safeguard ourselves then?
Look, as Ritesh had mentioned, someone had re-engineered TikTok and just a couple of days ago and posted the kind of data that TikTok was collecting. Now, we ourselves are often not aware of what kind of data apps that we're using are collecting, and I think it's useful for us to do. But usually, those decisions are left to users whether they want to ban an app or not. Now, so therefore, I think these bans are not necessarily meant to safeguard Indian users or their data. There was reported a month or so ago that Zoom was also sending data to China, and Zoom has rectified that. So then these apps should also have been given time to rectify sending data to China as an example, right? So the fact that they've been singled out, and because Zoom is a US company, it's listed on NASDAQ, etc. So the fact that these apps have been singled out means that it's a message to China and nothing more. I don't see this as this is a purely political, a purely geopolitical decision.
Okay, Ritesh, do you want to come in on that? That as far as a user's life is concerned, there is not much change that happens. This may be for larger messaging, and not so much beyond that.
No, Tanvi, what Nikhil is saying is absolutely correct that it is right now more of a political message. I completely agree with him. But then at the same time, everyone in the industry has been aware about the kind of snooping and spying all these apps have been doing. But the ones who are users, the general users, they are not like really aware about it. So it's high time that even the country understands, every citizen understands the importance of it's just not okay, my name and email and phone number going. There's a lot more going. There's a lot more. My private conversations. That is also going out over there. And when all this thing of almost half a billion population goes out over there, you can imagine the kind of analytics that can be performed, and accordingly the tables can turn as such. So it's very important. I again repeat, I agree with Nikhil what he's saying, but at the same time, yes, we right now let this firstly, I would want to correct you. It's not banning. Right now, they have blocked it. But again, I know there are ways. What happened when the porn websites were, kind of blocked? People are like bypassing it, right? You name the website, whether it is Xhamster or Pornhub, it's there. It's there on different domains and on different servers. So what again happens over here? So if the government is serious, do it once and for all. We don't want to see this back again, after 3 days, 4 days saying, okay, look, now my relations are resolved. Now you can use it. No, please understand, keeping the relations aside, keeping your political aspiration, keeping your political equations aside, please understand that yes, all these apps do send out a lot of data. Now, when you're talking about a cam scanner, imagine your invoices, your PDF files. When you're talking about your TikTok, a lot much is happening. In fact, TikTok, like really, when I was talking to you about the reverse engineering, it was like kind of doing something which was promoting child sexual abuse material, or what we call as even online grooming. So, we really need to take all these things extremely seriously.
No, so here are my two basic questions again, and I'm sorry, I'm simplifying this as much as I can for everybody to understand. Like you both said, some of these things experts always know. Those who track these developments know. But many of the users who've downloaded these portals or these apps for various purposes may not understand. So, Ritesh, one more time I'll ask this question. If I uninstall it now, does it help? Or is it too late? If I'm using 10 of these apps on my phone as we speak, does it now help to uninstall it in any way, or is it too late?
See, if you're on a Chinese mobile, if you're using a Chinese mobile, then it doesn't matter at all, Tanvi, right? Because there are other things also through other ways it's going over there. Yeah. But yes, it is definitely too late. Whatever information had been there, like up to, about you till like, let's say 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever is there is what they have been receiving. But fine, better late than never. Uninstall it if you want. But again, what's the alternative? Do we have superior alternatives? Find out what are those. But how would a common user find out, okay, what's a better thing for cam scanner compared to that? So now even Google has to help us and has to tell us, okay, then when you're using this, there is an alternative which also. So go and check out a little bit. But again, I think this is very difficult for many of the citizens who are not very cyber literate to understand, okay, whether this is Chinese or it's not Chinese, or whether it's snooping or it's not snooping, Tanvi.
Okay, Nikhil, you wanted to come in? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, look, I'm completely with Ritesh that many of these apps do collect a lot of your data, but then so do hundreds and thousands of other apps on the Play Store. Many of those apps are very, very, very popular. In fact, if you think about it, look at the amount of data that Google collects or Facebook collects or Twitter collects, right? So pretty much everything you do collects a lot of data about you, including these apps. So my simple question is, why these apps and why now? And that's where your answer lies. Only Chinese apps have been identified, and at this point in time, when there are tensions between India and China. So this is a purely political decision. Everyone should be aware of what kind of data their apps take, and everyone should have the right to take a decision of whether they want those apps or not. Right? I see there's nothing more than a political decision, and I agree with Ritesh. People should be aware of what apps do, but I don't think that's whether apps collecting data is a reason for banning them.
Okay. I take your point. Nikhil, Ritesh wants to come in, and after that, I have one more question for you. So just stay on. Yes, Ritesh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so again, Nikhil is very right. I think both of us are like agreeing with all the points that we are mentioning. But then I'm sure Nikhil would agree that the Chinese companies are much more notorious in collecting the data compared to any other company. So yes, it's time that get rid of it. If you ask me what I should tell the viewers, get rid of these apps. They are not so great. In fact, TikTok, besides giving away all the data, it has been like leading to a lot of cyberbullying and sextortion and child pornography and whatnot. So I think we can very well do away without it, and especially without having any of their nodal officers over here. It's best that they're not there.
Okay, now here is my other question, Nikhil, and maybe you want to come in on that. Fact of the matter is that the government order, apart from saying that your data and your privacy is at risk, also makes it about the state's sovereignty or integrity. Is there a way that, these apps can actually also become a national security threat by perhaps being in the phones of government officials, or intelligence officials who may also be unknowingly using these apps?
Absolutely. I think there are risks where states that are not particularly friendly with India or that we have tensions with, they can use their apps for two particular purposes. One is that they can collect data stored on devices, including what apps are stored on those devices, and maybe if there are communications in unencrypted format on a device, they can also extract that data. That is possible, even though you need to give permissions to those apps to be able to access and extract data on your devices. The other way that they can actually work is that they can mislead the population. So they can effectively highlight certain content which may change the way people think about a particular issue, or they can downplay certain news items. They can try and manipulate the way people think about certain things or certain situations, which may not necessarily be in line with how our government wants people to think about those situations. So there is misinformation and fake news that is possible. There is propaganda that is possible using these apps and other apps as well. So one needs to be wary of those aspects.
Then I have to ask this question, political reasons being the trigger or not, would you still say this was at least a good decision, irrespective of what triggered it?
I would say yes.
I don't find much locus for this decision outside of it being a political decision. And I think every app, no matter which app it is, can be used to manipulate voting, can be used to manipulate how people think. There can be information warfare that is possible on WhatsApp or on Facebook or on Twitter, and it is happening across the world. Specifically, these apps being targeted, to my mind, I think it's a political decision, and I would leave it to my government to take the decision. I don't think targeting one specific set of apps from a particular country finds much legal rationale beyond it being just politics.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I have a lot more questions, and I'm sure, as we delve into this deeper, more questions and more answers will emerge. So maybe we can have another detailed conversation tomorrow. But I really appreciate the fact that both of you, took the time out immediately as this news came and helped us break it down for our viewers to understand. Viewers, the list is being shared, by the government. It's on the government websites. It's also on, Mirror Now's websites and social media handles. You need to go through this list to see some of the apps if you have them on your phone. What's also interesting is, like our experts were saying, there may be a lot more, but at least 59 of them have been named, will be blocked by the government over security and privacy concerns. And these include apps like ShareIt, UC Browser, Shane, CM Browsers, Club Factory, WeChat, UC News, QQ Music, QQ Newsfeed. Especially if you are using a Chinese phone already, maybe, there's not much you can do, is what our experts are saying. But there are quite a few of these apps that may be on your phone. And you may want to look at this list, including apps like TikTok. Completely out of time on this conversation. Short break, lots more on the other side. If you're one of those who's extremely upset and confused about a bizarrely, exorbitantly high electricity bill, I'm going to help you understand that as well. So stay with me.